Okay, welcome to the Chip and Chase podcast. I'm Saul Nelson. What's the green screen? Whose garage is that? Are you in? Whose garage are you in?
Yeah, it's in my shed. I've been summoned.
In the shed, and you get parents kick you out there, and they manage to give you a green screen.
Bottom of the barrel stuff.
Man, that always looks smart.
I'm not sure about the shirt though, Saul.
Not sure about the what?
I'm not sure about the shirt.
What, this shirt?
Yeah.
My shirt?
Yeah.
Wow.
Not having that.
Not having that. All right. Well, unfortunately, do you want me to go and change? Would that be easier?
No, I'm joking.
Would it make your life easier if I wasn't wearing my uniform? It's funny. Yeah, it's one of two uniforms that I obviously employed by the WIU, but work up in North Wales with RGC and get pulled back and forth, and you need the right kit to be in the right place. So. Right now, I'm in my office in the house, and very much that's always been there.
Yeah. Sure, just put that to the minute again.
Definitely not. I've got full kit on. I'm ready to rock and roll. That's ready for kickoff.
No.
How was your weekend been anyway?
Last weekend was decent, pretty relaxed. I was back in Bristol, so spent some good time with the family, and definitely spent some time with my boys as well, which is good fun. How's things going with you guys? Obviously, you're coming to the end of your second year now.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was there for the first 6 months, which was good fun. Always good fun.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
Dan Cox has done a pretty good job since you leaving. So it's all.
I'm sure he has done. Yeah, I'm sure he has done. I'm sure he will do for years to come. He's a good bloke.
Yeah, very good coach.
So just getting straight into rugby talk. How did you find the Six Nations?
Probably mixed emotions. Sat here as a proud Welshman, and someone works for the Welsh Rugby Union. Yeah, there's mixed emotions. Started to see some real positive changes within the national side, definitely in how they played. But no, yeah, I think moving forward they'll be far better and far more competitive than they were during that Six Nations. Overall, how did I see other games? Well, I thought some of the games that were played, Ireland were incredible. Yeah, Italy, although having lost every game, they put themselves in a different bracket to where they've been previously, and France and Ireland continue to. They're the two teams that are setting the way and paving the way for everyone else and trying to follow them. Really, be interesting to come World Cup where the Southern Hemisphere teams sit amongst it.
Yeah. How do you think they're going to do in the World Cup?
Who knows? Wales are winning it. Wales are winning the World Cup. Wales are winning the World Cup. I've said that every World Cup since I've been breathing and understanding anything about the game. But how do I see the World Cup going? I think it would be an unbelievable spectacle for fans. Yes, well, it's pretty exciting. Everyone coming, like the 4-year cycles, if you like, that they've all been, and there would have been players that were nowhere near the national squads or even playing age grade rugby at the time. The last World Cup will end up playing in this World Cup and lighting it up, literally lighting it up. So no, it is exciting. It's exciting times within the game, and there are certain challenges that everyone faces across the world. But yeah, I think something like the World Cup is only going to be good for the game.
Yeah. Well, it seems like a couple of weeks ago that the 2019 World Cup just finished, so it's gone on quickly, hasn't it?
Gone pretty quick, yeah. You know, the old COVID put a little bit of delay on it, didn't it?
Yeah, I will. But how would you see like the finals and the quarterfinals shaping up? Like, will Ireland and France be in it, and like New Zealand, Australia?
Yeah, I mean the world rankings, they're there for a reason, and obviously form will take a huge part going into it. And those teams and like the coaches and the coaching staff and everything that goes on behind organising and getting a team to that sort of point where you've kind of get your cap numbers up. I mean, across the board, teams that are going into that will be. You'd like to think that they'd be pretty experienced at international rugby at that point. I think how many caps did New Zealand go in? Was something 900 caps, wasn't it? Something around those going into the last World Cup. So that, I mean, if and all of a sudden you get, once the World Cup finishes and Exodus out of the southern hemisphere end up coming up into the northern hemisphere for a couple of years on very good salaries, and then the next breed of rugby players come through, don't they?
Yeah. From a coach's point of view, what are like the main differences do you see between like the southern hemisphere and northern hemisphere in like deep analysis, if you know what I mean?
There's probably a different attitude to how they play the game. And when you watch some of the Super Rugby and some of the stuff that's been going on over the last couple of years, like they go out and try and score as many tries as possible. And there's a lot of very clever coaching that I think goes on behind the scenes, not necessarily just on the field, but also how players are primed psychologically to play that style of rugby and not necessarily hang hats on errors that are made. You know, a lot of these teams play real positive brand of rugby. And I suppose it helps when there is no promotion relegation, if that makes any sense, so that you're not going to get punished, if you like, for trying and failing. You'll get punished on the scoreboard because they're playing against some unbelievable rugby players. That's the I think that's the difference, is that they go out and try and score as many tries as possible. Well, I think probably past the Northern Hemisphere, they've been guilty in the past of probably going out and trying the hardest to win games of rugby, but concede least amount of points. And yeah, I think the from a coaching point of view, it takes some very clever coaching to have that mindset to attack in rugby, but also have that same mindset to defend and get the ball back as fast as possible and try and score from transition.
Yeah.
Very
Is that
different.
sort of how? Yeah. But you kind of see it in like some of the last few Bristol games. It seems we've been playing that sort of way. Was that a similar case when you were playing for Bristol?
I was very fortunate to be at the Northampton game. My eldest lad was invited to experience the new sensory room there, which was that was class, unbelievable for Bristol Bears and a community foundation, inclusion team to put something like that at the stadium so it can be accessed for everyone. That was pretty special from a family point of view. But watching Bears play that night, and obviously having played for Bristol a long time ago now, yes, I'm a fan of Bristol rugby and I keep a close eye on. I also got a couple of really good friends that are in the coaching staff there as well, and not just for the first team, throughout the pathway. And they'd conversations I'd had, said that, and watching the games that I'd watched, and you could see something was coming. There was definitely something was coming, and it kind of all came in a couple of games. And when Bristol are in that sort of form and they're playing that sort of rugby, there aren't many teams that are going to be able to compete. That's the Northampton got absolutely blown off the park. And Bristol scored some incredible tries. Like Charles Piatow lit that pitch up. Harry Thacker was unbelievable that evening. Harry Randall scored a ridiculous try from Piatow.
Sorry, so we just lost you there for a minute.
The internet in his shed not good, Fred. The previous games on the run up to the Northampton, you could see that something was brewing, and you could see they were starting to prove some really good periods of play, and it's the difficulty of, like, as you know, boys, rugby's multifaceted. Skill level to play at the speed that these lads now play at is something that is pretty impressive. So when it all clicks and you see it click like that, you get a performance that Northampton unfortunately were on the other end of. Was it 10, 11 tries, and something that you can only be impressed by that.
Yeah. Do you reckon Bristol can push for playoffs? Or is that out of reach now?
I think they'll certainly go for it, but in terms of the Premiership, every team in the Premiership's capable of doing that on any day that they play. So the Premiership is, as we know, and world known, it's probably the most competitive league across the world. So the players as an organisation, yeah, Bristol Bears want to be in that top bracket. Will they be there? They've got, like every team, they've got a lot of work to do, and they're on the right path. And let's hope that some of the results go their way, and they can continue to perform like they have done in recent weeks, and pick up some much needed wins.
Yeah, just pick up on that Premiership as a league as a whole. You said, like, obviously it's competitive, but go back to like the Super Rugby and like other leagues across the world, they're more high scoring. Would you rather watch a league that's high scoring and more entertaining than just like watching like teams like Exeter and Leicester pretty much doing the same thing against each other? It can be a bit samey and can put people off. What do you make of the league and in recent years?
I think it's an interesting question that you asked there, and there's a fine line between going out and playing and playing conservative rugby. But I mean, like, Exeter Chiefs score a lot of tries.
Yeah,
They score a lot of tries. Leicester score a lot of tries. The manner in which they do it, and people's perceptions of how they play, like, have a real close look. Coming from a playing point of view, previously, and I played for Exeter Chiefs, and the style of rugby that they play now, has it changed from when I was there as a player for a few years? Definitely. Yeah, definitely. There's been a shift. And the things that you'll see by Exeter Chiefs over the next couple of years is some of the old players now, they were young academy players back then, gone on and done wonderful things, winning the Premiership, winning the European Cup. They're going to go on to pastures new, and you'll see the next breed of Exeter Chief players coming through and taking the club to different levels, especially with some of the signings that they've made from Wales as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What would I prefer to watch? That's quite an interesting question. Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere. Hey, wow. I think, yeah, they are different, but they're obviously playing the same game. But I think what you'll probably find if you went into the environments, my son's just decided to poke his head in. Thomas, it's not the time or the place. Just give me a receipt for the window cleaner that was smashing the window a minute ago. You'd have to cut that out and freak that. Or even leave it on. I don't mind. He's a cool kid.
That's good.
Yeah, Dad, is the receipt for the window cleaner. Class. He's a great kid. He is a great kid. Yeah. I think it's probably a different attitudes in grassroots rugby that probably end up producing the rugby players. I say different attitudes. Obviously, it's a different mindset of, it's not attitudes, mindset to what is positive, and how people are coached at a young age group. I mean, like, you will have known yourself. You've played age group rugby all the way through at combination clubs in Bristol. I mean, is it about winning or is it about having fun and exploring the game? I mean, some clubs' attitudes to that are very different to others. That's and where these players go up, like every international rugby player you can ever think of has played age group rugby at a local club. I mean, not very many go in at professional rugby and just they decide that they're going to be professional rugby players, having not had those experiences. So, I mean, like certain areas of the world will produce certain types of rugby players off mindsets that are in grassroots rugby and in that performance development rugby going right the way up to performance rugby.
So going back to coaching, because you've obviously coached grassroots teams but also college teams. What's the college you're at now in Wales?
So I don't actually work at a college. I work for Welsh Rugby Union based. I am RGC's Academy Pathway head coach. So RGC is Wales's 5th region. Everyone's thoughts around the Welsh regions are just the 4 that sit on the south of the country, but yeah, over half the country is North Wales, and RGC stands for Rugby North Wales. So as a age grade and as an academy, they're a region in their own right. And we play regional age grade rugby against all the other academies in South Wales as a competition block. What's the difference between college and regional rugby? Not a huge amount. Not a huge amount. The players that I have the pleasure of working with day in, day out. Yes, they're at college. Yes, they have education at the forefront of their lives, and rugby is just something that they absolutely love doing. But yeah, they're in that performance development pathway up to professional rugby and hopefully national age grade rugby leading into professional rugby. That's the aim.
How's that going anyway in terms of like working there? How different is it from like working at SGS or at grassroots level?
How different is it? So one of the biggest things that attracted me, one was the cultural differences between, I say, inner city kids at college, predominantly used to big cities, and the differences between gentlemen like yourself and those that live in North Wales. The biggest challenge for me is 90 to 95% of the boys that I coach are first language Welsh. So coaching bilingually is something that I've tried to really embrace. Tried my hardest. I'm on like a 340-day streak on Duolingo, which I'm pretty proud of. And I tried my hardest to speak to every single player there in Welsh before I go to English. I've also got some good coaches around me that also speak Welsh as well. So yeah, I'm really loving that challenge, and it is they are different.
Yeah.
Different people, different backgrounds, completely different cultures. So yeah, it's you mean we've got lads who would have come to training in the evenings, and they'd have been working on a farm from 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning, gone to college, come to training, go home and continue working on the farm, especially at times like now where lambing is a big thing, and you know, we've got lads that miss training at the minute because they're just so busy on the farm working with their parents or families that the time we simply can't get to training. So there's a huge differences in some of the considerations that we as coaches have to considerate into them doing what's best for them right now, but also making sure that they continue on that path upwards with their physical development, obviously their rugby development, but also that psychosocial element of their development as well. So we're I'm when people ask me how's it going, I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. It's very, very different, but very similar. And some of the things that and I say we as in myself, and the things that I've learned, and I would say I'm probably coaching on a completely different level than I was when I was at SGS.
Yeah.
And I'm absolutely loving it.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
How did you enjoy your time at SGS though? Because you were teaching.
When you say enjoy it, I didn't enjoy my time at SGS. I absolutely loved it. It was I came out of a professional playing career and worked at a college part time first for 2 years. And was obviously my predecessor George Taverner, who's a fantastic bloke, fantastic coach, and then very, very similar to how Coxey's now ended up doing the role, and he was there part time first, and I was in the same boat. When I applied for and became head of rugby, there were certain things that needed to change, and the program needed to evolve, and that's no different to what Coxey's doing now, and moving forward, and changing things is always something I would consider to be really positive. But the 9 years that I spent at SGS, I loved, on the rugby front, I loved every minute of it. All the different challenges that it threw up, whether that be people, rugby challenges, on field, off field. Some of the people that you get to work with are incredible, and that's not just the boys that are fortunate enough to go on to professional rugby and have those careers. You meet some unbelievable young men that are going to go on and do great things. Not necessarily in the game of rugby, but in life. And I've met a lot of great young men. Very fortunate to have played a small part in their development, and very, very proud of the players that play rugby full stop, let alone just the lads that have gone on to professional careers at Bears or elsewhere. There are lads that are very successful businessmen in their own right now, and I love seeing boys do well. Like that's a big kick that you get from it.
I spoke to Diego Bailey not too long ago, and he was saying that you coached him and he enjoyed his time there. He's obviously gone pro and played for the Bears. Are there any other big names that you coached that have gone professional?
Look, I think the number of lads that went on to, I think it was 43 professional rugby players in that 9 years, and a large number. I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but I mean somewhere. Yeah, a fair number of lads went on and played international schoolboy rugby for England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. Big names that I coached. I say big names, and I was always pretty keen on keeping them grounded. Andy Aren would be someone I'm very proud of what he's doing and what he's done for Bristol Bears, and I wish him every luck in the future with his move to Italy. Very fortunate when I first went to the college, like Jake Pelledri decided to come, and seeing him doing what he's doing, and I mean, obviously the rough couple of years that he's had from an injury perspective, and he's actually smashed his rehab, and he was back playing international rugby, having had 2 years out of the game, and I think that just gives you a very small insight into the mindset and of what someone like Jake is about. There are, there's I sit here, I think your name is Diego Bailey. You've spoken about exceptionally gifted athlete. Very raw when he came to the college, and obviously his development whilst at the college and being at Bears. He's now flying. I think he'll come on and he'll be a fantastic professional rugby player and be a huge servant to Bears moving forward. You got Jack Bates, Blake Boylan, Tom Jones. I mean, these George Klosker. I mean, they're boys. A lot of those lads that I would pay money to watch. Very fortunate I don't have to, but I would definitely part money with, and that's probably a big thing. I can't tell you where my wallet is. I'll put it in it somewhere. But yeah, I think the like just seeing those lads, if we sit and watch TV and you watch games and there's lads there that are coming on or they're playing from the start, whether it be Premiership rugby, international rugby, you can't not be proud of stuff like that. And it's definitely just had like a tiny amount of input. You see them doing what they're doing on the international stage, like it's incredible. Yeah? It's incredible. Definitely where I get a huge amount of kicks from.
Yeah, nice.
So at the end of each episode, we ask for an all-time 15.
Oh, wow.
Whether that's who you've played with and against or your favourite players.
I did ask you, send me questions if you need any bit of prep. But hey, might have to drop Steve Mazzilli as an email telling you weren't very good on your admin side. Well, 15. I could probably be an episode of this all on its own, to be honest. I was very, very fortunate to go straight from school into professional rugby, and at Cardiff at the time, there were some massive names in the game, like Welsh Internationals, British Lions. I mean, I was in school one day, and then the next day, I'm sat in a room with everyone that I'd admired for years and absolutely loved watching. I was very fortunate then to play in a Junior World Cup for Wales, and we got absolutely battered in the final by New Zealand. And the back row that day had Richie McCaw in it. It had Jerry Collins in it. I mean, like they had a hell of a side. Like Aaron Major in the centre. Players that I played with, yeah, wow. Lou said it would probably be Andrew Sheridan. When he was at Bristol, like exceptionally strong man, like on a completely different level of strength. And I see on social media some of the things he still lifts now, and I wouldn't even want to put that on my back, let alone try and lift it. And he's 42 years old and still absolutely smashing it. Hooker I was very lucky to play against my idol Keith Woods as a young professional. In a very short period of time against Harlequins for Bristol. He would be one of my all-time favourite hookers. I thought he had the ability to do everything, include kick the ball 60, 70 metres. Tight head props, probably going to be quite a controversial one. But for me, he was one of the most aggressive scrummagers, but also one of the most aggressive individuals on a rugby pitch I've ever come across. Was Julian White. He only cared about scrummaging and the physical nature of the game. But yeah, he was an incredible scrummager, and he has nothing to do with the game anymore. He's farming, and that's what like he's up in Leicester doing farming as a living, and that's what he loved doing. Second rows. Garath Archer was pretty impressive. Again, a young professional. He was at Bristol. I remember sitting on the bench and watching Bristol versus Bath, and him and Danny Grucock going at each other. And by at each other, I mean like no holds barred. Rugby was a little bit different back then. The cameras weren't watching everything, and him and Danny Grucock had some unbelievable tussles. But yeah, I'd probably put Arch in there. Second row, jump in the second row. There was There's a couple really, but I think there's a second row at Exeter Chiefs, Tommy Hayes. He was unbelievable second row, but not for necessarily. He wasn't 6'6" or anything like that, but his attention to detail, how he played the game, and his understanding and game awareness were I thought were incredible. Back row, yeah, different. You put me on the spot here, gents. There's a fair few back row forwards that have done well. Hey,
We've done it to everyone else.
yeah. You probably let them know what you were going to do, though. You didn't tell me. Back row. Yeah, again, back row forward at Bristol, Craig Short. He would definitely be in my squad. He was not necessarily the most gifted of rugby players, but his nickname of Dog was 100% correct in everything that he did. One of the hardest men I've ever come across. Not necessarily, I don't mean like from a fighting point of view. I mean, he just ran around hitting things. Whatever fitness we were doing, like whatever dark hole you were in, he always seemed to be loving those times, and more often than not would pull everyone through it. So yeah, he would go in at 7. Number 8. Remember Ben Sturnham?
Rings a bell.
Yeah,
Well, he would have been at Bristol. He was at Saracens originally, Bristol, Bath. Came to Bristol, having had a decent run at Bath, and one of the best athletes I've ever seen. Like he was incredible. He was the easiest person to throw to at the tail of a line out because he was massive, but he was fast. Another back row forward, another number 8 would play there. An incredible athlete, an incredible rugby player, with Dan Smith. I know he's living in Australia these days, but yeah, he was. I remember the first time he came into pre-season, and we had skin fold testing, and he took his top off, and he was like chiseled out of wood. It was ridiculous. But not only that, he could move, and he could play rugby. Scrum halves, I think. Yeah, again, very very fortunate. At the time, yeah, I played with Gus Pichot, the Argentinian legend at Bristol. Would he be in my top 15? Probably not. A lad, yeah, probably not. On for other reasons, but I think my favourite 9 to play with was a lad called Shaun Perry at Bristol. He was a plate welder. He was a part-time rugby player at Coventry, and we played him in a league game, and he was incredible. And Bristol signed him. Incredible pass, incredible kick, but he's probably one of my favourite people to be around. He was always good fun. Never miserable, and if you were miserable, he would let you know. And yeah, but just 20 seconds in his company, you're back to being level-headed and happy. But yeah, real physical 9 competitor. Picked up, I think it was 14 or 15 caps for England. Incredible pass, incredible kicking game, but more so because he was a bloody good bloke. 10s. I can only say the best 10 that I had the pleasure of being on a field with. I wouldn't necessarily say played in the same team, but even on the field, you could just stand there and watch him run. Felipe Contemponi was incredible. Like his time at Bristol, he was a young man, and he went from Bristol to Leinster, but and played an incredible amount of times for Argentina. But again, he was ultra competitive. There's no doubt in my mind that has a huge impact on career that he had and the coach that he is now. Like obviously he's also, whilst he was being a professional rugby, he was learning and studying to be a doctor as well. So he's a clever bloke. Sense as well. Jason Little was unbelievable when he came to Bristol. He was an incredible professional. He'd won the World Cup a couple of years previously with Australia. He was pretty decent, but again, I think I go back to the times at Bristol that during my career that I have fond memories of probably like Sam Cox at 12, Johnny Hawker in the centre, the Welsh lad that came over. And I was travelling back and forth from Cardiff with Johnny at the time, and yeah, he was pretty no nonsense, great rugby brain. Sam Cox, great rugby brain, no nonsense, had a way about him. Yeah, I enjoyed watching him play, and yeah, how he was definitely. Yeah, those two would be my centres: Johnny Hawker and Sam Cox. Fullback, I'm gonna go fullback before I go to wings. Fullbacks. I could probably only say Shaun Marsden. Really, he's a friend of mine. Played a lot of rugby with Shaun, but then he had an incredible left boot. There's no better sound coming out of a scrum or throwing into a line out, and within 2 passes, it's in his hands, and he's launching a 70-metre spiral kick across the field, and you're running onto a line out rather than running into a ruck or something. Yeah, and watching again, being in a team where you know your fullback and finish things, and like he was so fast. He was so fast that just moving and running, whenever he changed direction, his speed didn't drop. Spent a lot of time with Shaun and lived with him for a year, which then that was one of the reasons why rapidly me and my now wife bought a place, and I didn't ever want to live with a group of men ever again. Off the back of living with six lads, or 5 lads, 6 lads. Wingers, David Lemi, without a shadow of a doubt, on one of the wings. I remember the first day he turned up to Bristol. Brian Lima, the centre, brought him in, and Brian kind of stood. It wasn't necessarily in the way, but as he walked into the change rooms, he said, "Oh, this is David," and David walked in behind him, and I thought, "Wow, this kid's tiny. He's literally tiny. Let's see how he's got." We went out and trained that afternoon, and I don't think anyone put a hand on him. He was incredible from the first minute he was at Bristol to the second that he left. He was unbelievable. Just the things that he would do with ball in hand and the tries that he would score. It's just like he's almost untouchable. And I'm pretty certain he's still playing now in France, which is an incredible thing. Considering like he's a winger, would he have lost a yard of pace? I very much doubt it. No, knowing David, and even if he did lose a yard or two, he's probably now just as fast as anyone else on the team. But he, not only was he a real good rugby player, he was a great bloke. Right wing, wow. Yeah, interesting. Right wings. Phil Christophers was really good at Bristol. I know he went on to play for England. Real good broken field rugby. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Phil Christophers. And when this goes out, I know I'm going to get absolutely bombarded by players that I probably haven't mentioned. Yeah, Yeah, I learned. Yeah, going back to the 10 centres, we're obviously coming through the age grade system in Wales. I was very fortunate to play in the same team as Gavin Ensign. He was a couple of years younger than me, but he was one of the most naturally gifted rugby players I've ever come across. And you like some of the things that he would do, were just unbelievable. And I know I've read in articles where they're like, did he really fulfil his potential? And I read that thinking, the bloke's a British Lion. Right.
Yeah.
What do you mean? That's the highest accolade you can get in the game. And you're asking if he's reached his full potential. He was an incredible athlete, incredible rugby player. And people are questioning whether or not he's reached his potential, and he sat there with British Lions caps. It always baffles me. That always baffles me.
Yeah. Well, last thing before you go is your favourite kit of all time, which is always a
Yeah.
Oh, favorite kit of all time. Oh wow. What kit that I've worn or kit that?
Well,
so, really.
So a few years ago, my wife asked me to grab all the shirts that I'd played in or played against or swapped with other teams, and very kindly sent the shirts away, and they came back in a chair. So I've got a chair in the bedroom with all my shirts that I've played or played against in that, and there's some decent decent shirts in there from that I remember either playing against and spending some time in Japan, and like some of the kit that came over there. Like, so I remember Suntory had a wicked. They were on like a wicked kit, like in terms of design. Uh, yeah. I think the only thing I can say, my favourite kit that I've ever worn is playing for Wales.
Yeah. Well, that's fair enough. It would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Like my age grade shirts. One of my age grade shirts is in my club that I started at in North Wales. So it's awesome to see that in there, even though last time I played for them was, I think, about 7 or 8. So I still have that connections there. Yeah, some of the a couple of caps on the wall that I recently put up thought was important.
Yeah.
In the part they've been up until recent year times, they've been in the loft in a box, and I thought it was important to have them in my office on the wall. And I'm very proud of what I did achieve. I also have some frustrations around what I didn't achieve, and they're on me really. And when I did play played for some wicked clubs. I was very fortunate enough to play for my country at age grade and at A level. I just didn't quite get that full cap, and that's something that will sit with me. But I'm very, very, very proud of the fact that I've worn my country's shirt.
Yeah. There's a squirrel on the roof.
Squirrel and birds trying to get in. Me with the window cleaner earlier. Thomas very kindly give me the receipt.
That's cool.
I've got a question for you two. How have you found? Like obviously you decided to go to SGS to incorporate your rugby into your academic life. How have you found that?
Must be brilliant. Well, yeah. Well, personally, I think it's helped a lot actually. Playing at obviously, well, you know me. I played at Reds my whole life, and just learning like obviously it's like Sunday League standard coaching, and actually experiencing it from like other coaches who played at a higher level was just it makes you like what wise rise were whatever the quote is, whatever. But it just makes you think more about the game and yeah, it'd be brilliant. So can't thank us.
Yeah, I think the main bit is like learning a different way of playing rugby and finding out all these like just little things before a game to like mindset, but then also learning about how to be a better person off the field.
Yeah.
Because college level definitely really shows you that on the pitch and in training and even in like lesson time, and just meeting new people and playing around people that you've never met in your life.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely been a good experience.
Yeah, I would. I know things were very different when I was your age, and having the opportunity and having something, I mean, like SGS available to young rugby players that do have aspirations to learn and progress, and tie in the education side of it as well. That I mean, something like that, I would have given me left arm to be a part of something like that as a young man. And I mean, I kind of bumbled through my A levels, and we used to make up games to go out and leave lessons, and I'd be on the backfield on my own, kicking the ball about. My teacher's looking out the window, thinking, "What on earth are you doing? You should be in the lessons." I think like the way SGS fully integrates that into your timetable, it is something that I think that it's incredible. People want to invest their time in their education, of course, and that's got to be paramount in their desires and their motivations to do well. And if you can tie in a rugby program that produces, and when I say produces, I don't just mean produce rugby players; it produces bloody good people as well. And I think you two are a definite testament to that. Hold on.
Thank you very much.
Very welcome.
Right, well, that's all from us.
No problem.
Thanks for coming. Cheers, Saul.
Take care. Good luck,
Yeah,
Jim.
you too.
Ta-ra.
Cheers. Bye.